Sharing's not turned on. Okay. I can go over some of the handouts that we have available on our website, publichealthmdc.com. Some of the major things we're looking for is hand washing equipment, making sure we have at least a 5 gallon plus a food grade container to dispense water, and free flowing. So not something that you have to hold open for the water to come out. And then a catch bucket, soap and paper towels for that as well. And then ANSI grade equipment like coolers, freezers, and things like that. And then steam tables for hot holding any foods as necessary. Things like that. If you are planning on washing any utensils on site, we'd like to see a wash, rinse, and sanitize 3 different basins set up. Soap and water in the first one, just water in the middle, and then a bleach water at 50 to 100 parts per million in the sanitized basin. Those are the major things. Does anyone have any questions or would like further explanation of those at all? I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Zach, do you mind sharing who the hand sinks are applicable to and the
I was
settings
going to
of that
ask,
market?
I was going to ask the same
Okay.
question. Is that for mobile units or only temporary tent setups?
So the mobile unit should have running water inside of it, coming from an approved source. So they should be good to go. And then for the transient under the tent, hand washing would be required for any unpackaged foods or any food handling where things are unwrapped or prepared. But if everything's just served fully packaged, then hand washing wouldn't need to be set up.
Mel's, I see you have a question too. Feel free to jump in.
Are grills allowed
If
that are
if we,
marked off, that are taped? I know you have to have them taped off.
yeah, I'd make sure you work with the Madison Fire Department on that one.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
touch base on that in a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
as far as just making sure they're ANSI approved and not going to impart any residues on foods or anything like that.
Right.
Cast iron parts,
Okay.
that should be good as long as you're doing things in accordance with the fire department too.
Okay.
Zach, could you mention the type, unless you're about to go on to this, the types of licenses that they might need if they're in a mobile unit or if they're in a transient setup, and if they need a service base?
Yep. So we do either want all the food be purchased right before the event and brought directly to it from an approved supplier, or if you have a licensed commercial base kitchen, all the storage and preparation can take place there and transported directly to the event, as long as you do have a base kitchen license. And then you'd also need a transient license to sell at the event and prepare food there. Otherwise, if you already have a mobile unit license, then that could be used in accordance with your base license. Then you don't need the transient license if all food activities will be conducted on the mobile unit.
Mhm.
So if I wanted to put a table with condiments and other things outside of my mobile unit, would I need the transient license also? Or would I be all good putting like things that people could serve themselves prior to them ordering from my mobile unit with everything attached?
I would say it would all have to either be on a shelf, like directly attached onto the mobile unit, or inside the mobile unit to be exempt from that transient license. Like if there's a table set up with condiments and other things, transient license would be required as well.
Oh, okay.
Anything else that you want to add, Zach?
Trying to think if I missed anything here. I know
Hey,
it's,
is that
yeah.
I was just going to ask, is there a good place for people to go to get a transient license if they don't have
Right.
one yet? Or is there handouts that are about the hand washing and stations and things anywhere that they could look for that stuff?
On our website, publichealthmdc.com.
She's being sarcastic because she have a lot of info she could say. Yes.
What was that?
I don't know if Tony actually had a question or not. If you did, Tony, feel free to unmute yourself.
It seemed like he was talking on the phone though.
Yeah.
Okay, all good. And then to apply for the license at the Madison City Clerk's office on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, downtown.
In-
Zach, can you apply for your transient license online?
At
Yes,
this
you can.
point, you can. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
The transient license can be paid for and applied for online, but the
Okay.
mobile and the base have to be applied for at the clerk's office. So I can drop in the chat the online application thing. That's also where you can apply for street vending licenses as well. But the transient's the only one on the licensing, mobile, and other one isn't. I send it every day, Zach. Sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you, Megan. I appreciate that.
If you could share the timeline too, when people would need to apply for a transient for it to be applicable per each event date.
Your season is July 1st to June 30th. Is that correct?
First event, May 14th.
But the
So-
transient licenses are July 1st to June 30th. So if you had one from last year, saying you got it July 15th last year, you would have a current license. So you can look on your license for its expiration date. If you applied for it in May of last year, you probably already got a note that says you need to get a new one.
So it's super important for everybody to have their licenses. I'm here to help guide and navigate and introduce you to Zach via email if necessary. But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility as food vendors to have these licenses. If you do not have the proper license on the day of the event, Zach will shut you down and you will be removed from the event, which will also go on your record for future participation with the night market.
I just dropped the link in the chat for PHMDC's website. You'll hear people say PHMDC, which stands for Public Health Madison Dane County. So if anyone's just rattling off PHMDC to you, that's what they mean. And when you click on that link, you do have to scroll down to retail, mobile, and transient. And there's a little accordion that will open up and give you all of the rest of the information, as well as the login to apply online for the transient. Zach, do you want to mention some of the vendors I noticed were not from Dane County? Do you want to mention if they have a health department licenses from other counties, if they're applicable?
So in Wisconsin, we do recognize transient licenses from other counties or from DATCAP, the state licensing organization. And if you do have one of those licenses, if you want to reach out to us and make us aware of that, then we can just check that beforehand and make sure we're all good to go and licensed properly.
I have a question. So we are somebody that we're not from Dane County, but we sell prepackaged food like maple syrup, okay? So I'm assuming we need the transient license, and then we are licensed by DATCAP. So I guess what else do we need?
So
Well,
maple
she's gonna
syrup.
put it back into the eating, and you know how you put in the bag,
Yeah.
and then you're eating.
Go ahead, Zach. I think my was speaking on accident.
Okay, sorry about that. So just selling maple syrup, if that's all pre-packaged, and so do you have a license with DATCAP currently for that?
Yeah, we're a licensed production facility. Yes.
Okay. And if all of the syrup is shelf stable and
Yes.
it's raw syrup and prepackaged, you would not need a public health license to sell that
Okay.
at the event. There may be other requirements like when and where you can sell that, but on our end, it isn't a retail food that's licensable in its prepackaged raw state.
Okay. All right, that's what I needed. So we don't need the transient license, but we have the DATCAP license, so I should just have that with us.
Yep, just to show it's coming from an approved source.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And if you have questions outside of this meeting too, just to make sure we can get to everybody who needs to speak, feel free to email those to me and I can navigate that to the generic public health email, or I could loop Zach in directly so I'm not blowing up his email.
So to kind of jump off what Heather just said, what about for sampling? Like, because we're also kind of a similar situation to them. We're prepackaged caramel corn, but we were planning on having samples as well. Do we need any type of license for sampling?
So will the caramel corn, will that be prepackaged when it's given out for samples? or will that be unwrapped and kind of?
I can prepackage and bring like prepackaged samples. But I was kind of just planning on having sample cups and filling them, like having gloves and hairnets and filling them by hand. Kind of having them sitting like on the table, or like filling them like when people would like a sample just directly from the bag with gloves on, things like that. But I can prepackage the samples as well if that's just easier.
Yeah, prepackaging would make things a little easier for you. Otherwise, what I would do for if you wanted to do it on package, I'd reach out to my supervisor to see what our current guidance is on that for sampling, and then what kind of thresholds get triggered, things like that, to see if you need your retail food and drink license.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I'll just go back. So Zach, who would your supervisor be that we would contact? Because like sometimes we offer samples of maple cream, so I'd be in the same situation as Cody just said.
Well, that's actually something I will reach out to Sarah and double check with her.
Okay.
She's been working with me on this.
Thank you.
She knows more about sampling guidelines.
I did just drop the licensed establishment email and phone number, both for English and Spanish. But from my experience, using email to say that you have some questions and if you can put them in there, it seems to me that lots of different people are responsible for checking that email, and you'll get a better, faster response rate than if you leave a voicemail. And if you can't articulate your question in an email, then start to think about how you can reevaluate what that question is, and or check Public Health's website or DADCAP's website. Both of them have all of the health codes linked in there. So if you want to do some good reading yourself, you could review the entire health code. But there's the contact is in there for you.
Dahlia's Enchanted Kitchen, do you have a question?
Yeah, I guess my question is very similar to Heather's because we make prepackaged food, but we don't have samples for people to taste. And just wondering if we need that same transient license or if we just need to just show up to the event.
And these are unpackaged samples.
So the samples we do are just for like smelling. We don't actually let people taste the samples. It's just like a jar of our spices that we have open for people to smell, but nothing's there to actually taste.
Okay. Yeah, if you're not serving the product, you wouldn't need a license specifically for that purpose.
Okay.
But if you have any other unpackaged foods that you're selling, you would, or offering for sampling.
Yeah, no, everything we have is prepackaged.
Okay.
I just dropped from Public Health's website. They have the fact sheets, and I just opened them up to look. There is a fact sheet on sampling. There's a fact sheet on honey. There's a fact sheet on a number of these things that talks about what you need to do in licensing requirements. So it's the last one I just dropped in the chat that says fact sheet. If you are wondering about food related to sampling, click on that. And that will help you answer some of those questions, and then maybe help you have a better understanding of how to ask the question through the email address to have it forwarded to whatever supervisor needs to review that information.
Sounds good. Thank you, Megan.
All right. Well, if nobody else has questions for Zachary, we should probably keep it moving just to be mindful of everyone's time. Sounds like maybe Lucas and I should do a little bit more digging specifically on this sampling question, and perhaps we can have that added to our FAQ guide at some point. But if anybody has follow-up questions about this, feel free to reach out. We want to make sure everybody's on board and on the same page here. And real quick, before we move on, my recording didn't start on time. We did get all of Zach's great info, but everybody who is watching this in the future missed my welcoming spiel. So anybody watching on YouTube, welcome. Just a reminder, we will ask a question towards the end. We need you to email the answer to that question to Lucas to confirm that you watched the video. Anybody with us live, if you haven't already, please drop your name and business in the chat. Questions can also go in the chat. With that, let's move on to the Madison Fire Department. Scott, Lori, would you like to take over?
Go ahead, Lori. I'll let you take the lead.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Lori Anderson with the fire department. I will come around as you're setting up and probably as the market sort of begins, making sure that a couple of things. That one, that if you're using a canopy tent, that canopy tent is not set up too close to any fire hydrants, which I know Lucas does a good job of making sure that that doesn't happen, but it has occasionally happened, and then we have to move you. So we need a good 4 feet from that hydrant before you set up. There should be nothing in the street. You should always make sure that you're on the sidewalks or in between the businesses and the street, so that should a fire truck or a medic truck need to get down there, they can. The roads are blocked, but with barriers, but those are movable, and we just don't want you to set up anything on the streets. And then truly the final thing that I'm most concerned about is food carts. You need to have, if you're cooking, you need to have a currently inspected extinguisher, and I will be checking for those. And then if you're using those canopy tents, you need to have weights on every leg of those tents. And there's a new city ordinance that's going to be coming out, and this is new, and so there's going to be some education here. But you will need to have 40 pounds of weight per leg on those 10 by 10 canopies. Typically it's a manufacturer's best practice guidance, and that's what we are going with. So if you do not have 40 pounds of weight per leg, I will be saying something to you. So please make sure you have those even before you get anything set up. If you've got that canopy up, then we need to have those weights on those legs. So anything else, Scott, that?
I was going to echo that, Lori. Sorry to Scott to
Yeah.
jump over you, but I'm so glad you said it. As soon as the tent is up, the weights are the next thing. Then you do the rest of your stuff. You don't wait for it to blow away into your neighbors before you think, oh, my weights. That'd be a good idea.
Which has happened before.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. And so, so we're just becoming consistent with the rest of the city with that, with the 40 pounds, and with, as she said, with the engineering studies that we saw, plus also manufacturers. So it's so that's not just a number that we pulled out of the air. It is something that we have some justification for. So I know it's quite a bit, and just like Lori said, it is a newer change. We were just looking for weights before, but she said it very well. It's kind of a soft year for that. We are going to be mentioning it to you. We are going to be expecting it to get better and better. But we're, it is going to be a little bit of time for everybody to adjust to that, but we will be looking for that. And then finally, of course, the same thing as before about, not cooking under the tents and that. So, but it sounds like everybody's been pretty good at that. But again, we have new people on here. So, especially if you got anything where you're producing heat or you're cooking of any kind or whatever underneath the tent, please reach out to Lori or myself beforehand if you've got a question, but otherwise just assume that you can't do it underneath a pop-up tent. So otherwise, I think that's kind of it. Everybody's done a pretty decent job, so please keep it up. And we've got some good support from Tim and Lucas, so use them as well.
What about the grills?
You can use grills, but again, they would have to be out from underneath any tent.
Nothing under the tent. A fryer, like a tabletop fryer?
Fryer is outside the tent as well. Yep. LP has to be secured. You have to check it for any kind of leaks, so just a little soapy water on it, that kind of stuff. If the wind is blowing the smoke back under the tent, you're going to have to move it to a side or something. But otherwise, we kind of let them stay a little bit closer than what they normally would be, just because of the constraints on the street, or not the street, but the sidewalks there, stuff like that.
So yeah, that would be considered a solid fuel type stuff. So we will look at those a little bit closer,
Okay.
and as said, make sure you got the extinguishers there up to date. Is a big one of those as well.
Right.
And you
So-
might want to also let Tim and Lucas know that you have a grill because that would depend on your site assignment because your site
Mhm.
assignment may not accommodate a grill. So
Oh, yeah,
that is
that's true.
definitely something you need to speak with
Mhm.
Lucas and Tim about to ensure that they're
Okay.
putting you in a spot that would accommodate what you're doing because that goes outside of your 10 by 10 tent and probably maybe a challenge or something that they would need to look at
Right.
related
Right.
to their layout. Sorry to speak over you or for you there, you guys.
And I want to bring up the tent weights again, because that's brand new for all of these people who have been with us for the past 6+ years. It used to be 20 pounds, it's now 40 pounds, and I will be enforcing it just as strict as Lori. I try to get there before Lori to hopefully give you a heads up. So make sure that you have 40 pounds per tent leg. If you don't have it, your tent needs to come down, and or you need to have somebody bring you some form of 40 pounds per tent leg.
We do have a question in the chat, and I just want to make sure the answer that was given is accurate. Can we clarify the distance needed between the tent and any grill and fire setups?
All right, do you want to go with what we've kind of been enforcing with? Otherwise,
Yeah, I mean, I think we usually go with 4 feet from the hydrant. I mean, obviously we would prefer more, but I know it gets packed in there. There's a lot of vendors. Really what we need to think about is like when if the crews have to hook up to that hydrant, and there aren't a ton of them that you're going to be near, but they need to be able to work around that. The grills, we typically say 10 feet, but we know that that's not going to happen either. So it just really, we need to at least, again, Scott, I don't know, do we do 4 feet from?
exactly. It again, as I kind of mentioned about the wind too, plays a factor into that.
Yeah.
If the prevailing winds are pushing whatever heat or grease you have right back up underneath there, you're going to need more distance. Normally, we've been allowing, as long as you're being good with it, not creating problems for us, we try and do what we can to help you out. And so, just as long as it's outside the tent, a foot or two, because as Lori said, we understand it's tight up there, but the code says 10 feet. And so we're trying to do what we can to help everybody. So as long as everybody kind of, make sure that we're not having issues with that, we're okay with trying to give you what we can. It's usually 1 to 2 feet away from the tent at this point, for this particular event. And then, like I said, heavier winds blows up towards it a little bit. We may have to address that a little differently. But that's what we're looking for, is that we have some sort of break so it's not just right under the very edge of the tent.
Great.
And hopefully that helps, but I also am trying to give you what I can for a little bit of a leniency for this. But if we give you a specific one, it's going to be 10 feet.
All right. Thank you. And there was a follow-up question whether they'll know ahead that their assigned space is near a fire hydrant. Lucas and I do our best to not put assigned spots near fire hydrants. Just a reminder for anybody new, this is not a free-for-all. You will get an assigned location, and we make sure that those locations can accommodate and are following all these safety rules. So don't worry too much. If you do happen to show up and your site is near a fire hydrant, find one of our staff, either one of the downtown Madison staff or one of Lucas's staff, and we will find you an alternate location.
And going back to Lori's point about you're going to be setting up on the sidewalks, I'll be talking about this during my spiel. If you're set up on State Street, if your booth is directly on State Street through the 100 block all the way to Lake Street, you are going to be on the sidewalks. So when you pull in to load in, you're going to pull tight against the curb, unload all of your equipment, and then move your vehicle. You are not to start setting up your equipment until your vehicle is gone, because we need to maintain emergency access. We need to be able to get a fire truck or an ambulance through State Street, and State Street already is a pretty narrow street by code guidelines.
Yep. And likewise, we need you near your vehicle with the keys. So, do not wander off with your vehicle on the street. We need you to be able to move at a moment's notice. Also expanding on that a little bit, there is one exception to the no setting up in the street rule, and that is on Mifflin Street and Carroll Street on the Capitol Square. The street is wide enough there to maintain our fire lane. So that area will be the exception to that rule. Also, we do need to keep a 6-foot handicap accessible walkway between your tent and the building. So essentially, the front of your tent will be right at the edge of the sidewalk. If that is true, then the back of your tent will maintain that 6-foot walkway. So just make sure you're right up at the edge of the sidewalk and not set back too far.
And Tim, I'm going to add to that because I was going to speak on that. So the section that Lori, Tim, and Lucas are all referring to between the building, then there's the sidewalk, which is actually where people walk up and down. You all are going to be on technically called the terrace, which is where all the amenities are and where your tents will go. And it's between the sidewalk and the curb. And so that is technically the terrace. And I'm only calling that out because street vending uses the word terrace all the time, and we say you're on the terrace, and that's part of the public right of way. And so the sidewalk is where people walk up and down, building, sidewalk, terrace, curb, street. And the street is either a parking lane or a driving lane, depending on the road. State Street, it's a driving lane. And so there's no parking lane. On Mifflin and Carroll, you'll be in the parking lane, but you'll still be in the road. Or adjacent to a pylon, depending on what part of the street you're on. You might be next to a Jersey barricade, but so just for some technical things, as you may do other vending or be out there at other events and they say you're on the terrace, they mean you're on the spot between where people walk and the curb.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat for MFD. Anything else you guys want to add before we move along?
I think I'm good.
All right.
I'll re-explain the terrace. So when you're out in the public, we talk about the space as the public right of way is where the public can use it. So for the night market on State Street, you have all the buildings on either side. Then you have the sections where people walk. That is technically called the sidewalk. Then you have the terrace, which is between where people walk and the curb, where the trees, benches, fire hydrants, pink flamingos, planters, as well as where the vending spaces will be. So the terrace is the section where your tents will be. The roadway is the roadway where people drive or the people will be walking. And then there's the sidewalk behind you. And I do want to call out the sidewalk before I jump into my piece, because when you're setting up, you need to maintain that sidewalk. When you set up, people tend to get real wide with their stuff and they're putting their chair in the middle of the sidewalk. Then you look up and there's someone blind walking down the street and now your chair is in the middle of their walkway and they're going to trip over it. So there is a line where all of you will see between where the sidewalk and the terrace is. It's actually a cut line on the sidewalk. Try and keep all of your stuff like inside of that and kind of within your tent area. We understand that it's a little difficult when everyone's there all loading in quickly, but be mindful that you're not putting your chair in the road. Just because it's out of your way doesn't mean that it's not going to get run over by a car because they're pulling in and didn't see it, or a step stool. So just keep your stuff as contained as possible. Get your tent up, the weights on it, and just keep mindful that all of your stuff stays neatly together, because it really is like an amoeba. You start to grow real quick. And don't put your stuff in other people's sidewalk cafes either. If they're next to you and there's a sidewalk cafe, that is not your place to use their tables and chairs. That is for them to have outdoor dining. So please do not use other people's equipment to store and protect your equipment from being on the ground while you're setting up. They need it for other things. So be mindful of others around you. And do you want me just to carry on? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to I'm speaking a lot. I apologize.
No, you're full of great info. This is wonderful. Thank you.
So along with that, when I talked about being mindful of your neighbors and what businesses are next to you, also be mindful of city amenities. And when I say city amenities, I mean trees, benches, planters, bike racks, fire hydrants, poles, trees, I'm going to talk about the trees again. Please do not lean your equipment up against city amenities. I know it doesn't seem like much, but if we're talking 5 night markets plus all the street vending plus all the other things, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people that if they do that, the trees will die. If you lean your equipment up against the tree, it's going to start chipping away at the bark, and it is eventually going to kill those trees. The trees do not have a lot of bottom ground beneath them to support them. So give them love, share some kind words with the trees, but do not, you can hug it maybe, but don't put your stuff up against it. It's not there to support your equipment. And you might think it's little, but I've literally watched countless numbers of trees be cut down around it. And I've watched gashes being taken out by you just dropping your tables up against them or a vendor doing that. And we want the trees to stay. So that includes don't tie your stuff to the tree. Don't tie your stuff to city amenities. Your mirrors should not be taped to poles if you have things that you want people to try on. So anything you have should be freestanding and should not be using city amenities to hold it up, hold it down. You can't tie your tent to a bench and say, I have 40 pounds because the bench is bolted down. It's not going to count. So keep that in mind. And a lot of these things, I'm not making them up. They're things I see on a regular basis that we're addressing. So these aren't just like made up stories that are too unbelievable to be true. All of them are unfortunately true. So keep that in mind. If you are a city licensed street vendor and you operate anywhere in the city of Madison under your street vending license, this is a special event. The Madison Night Market is a sanctioned, permitted special event. So you are under their special event umbrella and not your vending license. Sidewalk cafes are exempt, but I don't believe any sidewalk cafe operators are on this call. Merchant vending is exempt as well, but those vendors are brick and mortar businesses that I believe this group talks to separately. So keep in mind that you are operating under the rules of the night market, which is what Tim and Lucas are expressing to you, and what they say is what is on their permit and what the city is holding them to. So there are some things at special events that are a little different than you might be used to in vending, such as being able to use a transient food stand license or things like that. So this is a permitted, sanctioned special event, not an event that is very special. So follow Tim and Lucas's rules. They know what they're talking about and they've been down this road, as well as any other city staff that are coming by to talk to you about something like fire or public health. Let's see. You guys talked about tent weights. Awesome, because I was going to bring that up, but and we did talk about the pedestrian right of way. Lighting. A lot of you guys, because it's the night market, are probably going to bring lighting. Just be mindful, you're most likely don't have anywhere to plug into, so it's going to have to be self-sustained lighting. And so whatever that is, make sure it can sustain itself without electricity, either battery powered or solar powered. Or if you do have a generator, generators must be 60 decibels or less. That's how loud they are. You can read your spec sheet on your generator. You can Google the brand you have. It's going to say decibel levels, and it's going to tell you at max and at minimum. And you want it to be at 60 decibels or less. Some food vendors end up needing 2 generators to produce the amount of power. But there's also a lot of battery powered, solar powered, small generators for art and craft vendors that wouldn't be loud, don't have any noise, but they would power your lights and maybe a fan or a heater. I mean, not a heater because you can't have that under a tent. So no heaters, but maybe a fan or something. If you have questions about heaters because April's cold, talk to fire. But generally speaking.
And on that power note too, Megan, if you are over 60 decibels, I have a decibel reader. This is pretty much just food vendors. You will be shut down or your generator has to turn off. That's just part of our permit, like Megan's alluding to earlier. And then we do not provide power to anybody, period. If you're next to a city light pole that has power, and it works, you're more than welcome to tap into it as long as your cord is covered properly for fire. No, Megan?
Unless you're paying for it.
Okay.
I don't think you double check with Kelly on that one before and clarify that one, because that one I guess typically vendors are sometimes they're using it for power, but sometimes it's not for the food vendor. I would double check with Kelly if you can use city electric, but if you are, it can't hold more than 20 amps or 15 amps. It will die if your generator runs to 19 amps, it will knock out the entire pole, and there's no one there to fix it.
Yeah.
So
No power provided, period.
Yeah, and I'll say the outlets that actually function on State Street proper are few and far between. So just reiterating, do not count on that. 90+% of them aren't functioning. If
yep.
you Google power station, portable power station, there's a whole bunch of options all over the place. I think you can get them at places like Harbor Freight too. There are some really good options for, anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on your needs. And it's type of thing where you charge it ahead of time, and then there's plugins for you to use your lights, your register, whatever it is you might need to power. Those probably won't be strong enough for a food vendor, but for a regular retail craft vendor, they would probably suffice.
Yeah, and some to Tim's point too about the few and far between, sometimes they're like 12 feet high. And you think you can climb on top of something. No, like they're just not meant for that. And we do have city licensed food vendors in the mall concourse that do use them. But if they came on Friday and they weren't working because one of you guys blowed them the day before, that means that they can't do business. And so, yeah, I mean, double check, but I would say come to self-sustaining. Even food vendors that have power bring generators because that pole could have been tripped the night before by somebody plugging in their hair dryer on the street. Who knows? That would blow a fuse in a second. I also would add the planters aren't extra display space. So if you're next to a planter and you want to use it to like display your yard art, it's probably not ideal. You should come self-sustaining to display your yard art in your own displays and not use city amenities to be displaying all of that stuff. No inflatables in the city right of way, including brick and mortar businesses. And you can't have like a blow up inflatable flyy thing that does this, that like wants to get everyone's attention, or like a little mini bouncy house in your area. Inflatables are not allowed in the right of way. So if you have one, leave it at home. If you bring it, it's probably going to be asked to be unblown and removed from the right of way. And again, we've seen these things pop up. I see them all the time. So just leave your inflatables at home. I think that is the majority of the things I had.
And the big
Drop
thing
the
too on
list.
Megan's side is no stickers.
Oh my
Stickers
gosh,
are,
yes.
yeah, people like to put stickers all over anything that has a surface. So no stickers to be given away. You can sell stickers, but no giving away free stickers.
Yeah, people are more apt to put free stickers all over amenities. They are not apt to put a sticker that they paid $5 for on a city amenity. And that is why that is, because the free stickers, I just was walking down State Street this morning. I saw it inside someone's vestibule for their business, and there was like 15 stickers on the side of their building. And it's marble. That sucks. Um, so that is a really important piece. And I think the lighting, you don't want for your lighting, you want something low voltage because you want it to work on your little mini thing or by batteries. There's also really good clip lamps that you can get that are battery operated for like reading in bed at night, but they could clip onto your jewelry display and kind of be hanging over. So just get creative with lighting and know that you have to have a power source that can power it. And you're not going to be doing the types of things that are like the crossing spotlights that want to get people's attention. Those are too huge, ginormous spotlights that are going to bother your neighbor because they can't see because your spotlight's blowing them out. Like, no, but reasonable lighting that you can put on the inside of your tent to illuminate your area, and then some point spotlights that you can find even at the bookstore. Like I got a really great one for my mom. She uses it on her walker as a headlight at night. But it also would work really great on a jewelry display. And they're from the bookstore, like Barnes and Nobles or wherever. And they're meant for putting on your book to read at night, but it's perfect for that type of thing. So you want people to see, but you don't want them to be blinded by the light. And music too. Like these guys are dealing with music. They got lots of great music. Don't bring your own music. If you have something, it's got to be super low for you to listen to keep you entertained, but you'll be entertained by all the people around you. But you're not blaring your music to get attention. You're not blaring your music to like do all of that. They have music covered. You know, keep it to yourself. So your neighbors can do business too. And I always say, like, when we talk about volume and keeping things at a reasonable level, and this goes with the decibel readers for generators and everything, it's that if the people next to you can't do business, then you're not at a reasonable volume. And you all want to do business and you all want to support each other to do business. So make sure you keep yourselves at a reasonable volume so your neighbors can do business and so can you. And good luck, everyone. It's a great event and you're going to have a great time. It's a very well-run event. These guys do a great job. And when they tell you something, they mean it and they're not joking around. And if you listen and come with a positive attitude, for both you and your customers, it's going to be a great night.
Wonderful. Thank you, Megan. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Oh, wait. Okay, real quick. We have, is there a weight requirement for tent weights? Yes, fire department said a little bit ago that it's 40 pounds per leg. That is new. It used to be 20. So everyone, we're reiterating that 40 pounds per leg. So you need 160 pounds total for a 4-leg tent. How many people attend the event? 20,000 per event is what we had last year. All right. Thank you, Megan. Now the man of the hour, Lucas Malloy, my right-hand man.
Yes, I am your person. I'm going to be the one sending you the emails. You've already all received that. That's why you're here. In the emails, there's going to be very specific things that I need. For example, your insurance. We do require 3 entities to be listed as additional insured. Please do not email those to me individually. Send them all to me in one email, so I'm not getting 300 emails a day from all of the vendors, as much as I love you all. Within that email as well is going to tell you when I need all of this information. I need everything that's in that email 1 week before the event date. So the Thursday before by 5 p.m. If it's 5:10, your acceptance is going to be withdrawn. I am getting a little more lenient with my age. So please get that in by 5 p.m. the week before to make sure we can get everything we need. That's payment, that's COI, and proof of watching this mandatory video, which you all are doing right now. I send out all of our load-in information and your booth assignments. I say 1 week before, but in reality, it's going to come out the Friday after that deadline because I need time to process and assign 115 of you guys booths, and I just don't work that quick. So I need a few hours to get that done and send it out. So that's going to come out the Friday before the Madison Night Market week. Each booth is going to be 10 by 10 with the exception of food trucks. And then if you are assigned a smaller booth space, I will call you out specifically in my email. So for example, if Melly Mel's, for some reason, I assign a smaller booth than a 10 by 10, I will tag you in that because you indicated that was something you can do in your form. I know that's not the case for you, Mel, so you can disregard that. We have a dumpster on site. The dumpster is located on Broom Street. That is for your use. There are trash cans and city anchored receptacles throughout State Street. You can use that if you have an empty coffee cup or if you purchased some maple syrup from one of the other vendors. But at the end of the night, please do not stuff your cardboard, your full bags of trash in those city receptacles because frankly, it's me and my team that are emptying that. And that's one true way to see me get disgruntled quickly. We have a dumpster on site. It's on Broom Street. It's for your use. If that's too far away, that's fine. Take it with you in your vehicle to your home or wherever you dispose of everything else that you have, but it's for you. We have portos on site. Porta potties will be located on Broom Street and State Street. And then we have another section of porta potties at the top of State Street on the corner of State and Mifflin. The other restrooms that are going to be open are at the Downtown Visitor Center office, which is on the 400 block of State. So those are the restrooms that we associate directly with the event. From a load-in standpoint, there's going to be 2 sections for load-in. The Capitol and the 100 block of State Street, you will all be instructed to come in via Wisconsin Ave, directly touching the Capitol. That way, the rest of the folks will come in on Broom Street. So you'll need to come in one of those two ways, Wisconsin Ave or Broome Street, to be checked in. If you don't check in with me, I don't show any recognition of you being there. And then that shows on your potential acceptance for future markets. You cannot come in via the 200 block of State Street because then there's not going to be any guidance or support from my team to make sure you have what you need. When you come in those points of entry, you need to have your booth number. I know most of you. Luckily, I've been working with you for 15 plus years. But for those new folks, for example, Rich, if you approach me and tell me your business name, I have 115 vendors. I need to flip through multiple pages. It just clogs up the entry point when I have vendors trying to enter. I need you to come with your number. We could have a little back and forth as I find your booth and make sure you know where you're going, but come to me with number 17. That way I can tell you, oh, yep, you're on the 200 block. You're going to be looking for your booth number, which is going to be chalked on the sidewalk. That chalk number will be the smack dab center of your booth, and your booth hips will flank out from there. So 5 and 5, 5 feet on each side for your booth. To reiterate what was said earlier, you're going to be on the sidewalk if you're on State Street. If you're on the Capitol, which is referred to as Mifflin, you are on the parking lane. The same goes for Lower Gilman. Gilman Street is our food truck alley, if I may, where you guys will be in the parking lane. Those food trucks on Gilman Street will not be able to set up a tent in front of your parked food truck because I need to maintain access for emergency vehicles. So if you have a 30-foot by 10-foot food truck, that is your footprint. You cannot set up a 10 by 10 tent in front of your food truck for service. Load in will begin at 1:30 sharp. I'm super punctual, so 1:30 is when I'm going to start letting you all in. 3:30 is the last minute that you will be able to drive your vehicle onto the event site. And again, I'm super punctual. That's going to be the cutoff. We're closing the roads at that point. If your vehicle's still on the event site, which it will be, that is fine, but your vehicle needs to be removed no later than 4:30 because that's when we start to have guests trickle in, even though the market doesn't start till 5. My crew will continually go around and remind you if your vehicle's on site because I'm the one pushing them to do that. They'll say, friendly reminder, you have 5 minutes to get your vehicle out of here before Lucas comes. I'm kind of the enforcer, if I may. When you load in, the request is that you pull against the curb, you unload your items onto the sidewalk or the terrace, as Megan alluded to earlier, and then remove your vehicle from the event site. Like I mentioned, there's 115 plus of you, which we love. But if you're all on State Street at the same time, there's no way I can get a fire truck from one point on State to the other point. So drop your items. If you need somebody to watch your stuff while you park, if you don't have the support people with you, my crew will be walking around in blue safety vests. We're very visible. We're more than happy to watch your items, but please don't abuse that. Like I said, we have 115 of you. I cannot have one of my crew members sitting at your booth for 10 plus minutes just because we need to service the other 114 of you to make sure we're doing a good enough job for everybody to have a successful event. That goes to communication. I'm very accessible. My cell phone is in my signature line on my email for better or worse, so you all have my cell phone, but please be respectful of how you use that. Please do not be texting me at 10 p.m. on a Friday night when it's not even close to the event day. I love you all, but I'm trying to set personal boundaries for myself as well. So email me. All your emails come to my phone. It all comes to the same spot. I'm going to respond to you just as quick, but I won't be as ornery if you follow the proper channels via email. On event day, my request is that you call me. If I don't answer or if I send you to voicemail, I see your call. I know you're directly calling me because it's the event. I will call you back immediately. I'm probably ignoring your call because I'm handling another vendor issue or I'm just chatting with another person. I'm not doing it to be disrespectful. You don't need to call me 10 times in a row. I will call you back, I promise. If I seem irritable during load-in, it's not because of you. It's because of the general public. We're closing down public roadways. People completely disregard traffic barriers, and it's my responsibility to do my best to keep everybody involved safe. So it's because I have somebody who's not associated with the event, who's disregarded our road closure and now is at my point where I need to turn them around, and it clogs up my point of entry for you guys. So if I'm irritable, I apologize. It's not at you. If it is at you, you'll know directly because I'm a very transparent person, but it's not you most of the time. On that line, be kind. Like I just said, I'm going to be irritable sometimes. You're going to be irritable. There's a lot of one-way streets downtown Madison. The May Market is going to be college move out. It's going to be a lot of people driving downtown who are unfamiliar with the area. Just be kind. My team and Tim's team and the city officials that we have on this call, we're here to support you. We're here to help you. If you are wanting to vent, do that to me versus anybody else on my crew, just because they're there to help you. I'm paying them. They're there to do whatever they can to make your successful day. They can help you pop up your tent if needed, my crew. But again, we have 115 others that we need to service. So if that's going to happen, we want to be in and out pretty quick. So if my team is short, it's because we have others that we need to support. So again, it's not at you. The message I'm trying to display is be kind to each other so we can all succeed. What did I miss?
Can I add two things that I forgot while you're looking at your list? One is off of the garbage conversation and not like leaving it in the city stuff. But if you are going to produce garbage, you should have a garbage can. If you're a food vendor, you absolutely should have your own garbage can with a lid. That'll help with the bees and stuff in the summer. And you should be changing it regularly, not letting it overflow and blow down the street. So you should have a staff assigned to like check your garbage, especially if you are a business that produces a lot of garbage. If you're a business that's going to produce a little, have a little Ziploc bag or something because you're going to produce something. Or your customers are going to ask you to hold their can and throw it away and forget it or whatever. So make sure you are prepared to collect your own garbage. No spray chalk or spray paint. So if there's a reason you need to mark something for yourself, don't use spray paint or spray chalk. Like if you want to draw a little smiley face in front of your booth and say, come visit me, don't do it in spray chalk or spray paint. And I just wrote myself one other note that I can't read, so I'll come back to it. Sorry.
That's all right. You will ask, hopefully we've been having good luck, knock on wood. If it rains, this is a rain or shine event. We do have an emergency action plan in place. If there is lightning, our threshold for lightning is 10 miles. You will be notified via my crew on the event site, via every PA system that we have affiliated with the event, via the things that you speak into megaphones as we go through the event site. If lightning approaches within our 10-mile radius, we will be evacuating the event site. So at that time, you have to leave. You have to leave your booth. You're seeking indoor cover, whether it's in Ian's at the top of Straight Street or Amoka on the 200 block, wherever it be, you're seeking cover. You're going to want to take down your items. That's not encouraged. I obviously cannot force you to not do that. All I can do is encourage you and guide you that we are seeking evacuation because of lightning. Again, this hasn't happened. We have this all buttoned in with the fire department. We'll have police on site. We have a very clear, concise plan, and will be communicated to you. But the event is rain or shine. For loadout, which is my last piece, the event ends at 9 p.m. We do not allow any vehicle traffic onto the event site until 9:30 at the earliest, because there's still going to be thousands of people wandering State Street. So we ask that you promptly, politely close service at 9 o'clock so we can do our best to get all of you guys out of there in a timely fashion. So at 9:30 is when you'll be able to come back on. At that time, you can re-enter the same way that you entered earlier for load in into the event site via Wisconsin Ave or Broome Street. I will have crew there to make sure that you put your hazards on your vehicles. If you don't know how to turn your hazards on, we will show you how to do that in your vehicle. You need to drive slow because no matter what, there's still going to be foot traffic on State Street. And then you need to park and do your best to remove everything as quick as possible. We have an end time on our street use permit. We try to be earlier than that end time to be cognizant of all the other businesses in the area that are directly impacted by our road closure. So if you're in sections like Lower Gilman or on the Capitol, My crew will remind you before the event ends what time you need to be clear of the event site. Like the Capitol, we ask that you're clear by 10 p.m. so we can open the Capitol for free-flowing vehicle traffic again. That's all I have on my side.
I remember the last thing I had, and then I'll be quiet, I promise. Try ahead. If you have a new pop-up tent, don't bring it in a box. Try it out before you get to the event. If you have any new equipment that you've never used before, don't bring it in a box. Just take one, you have to get rid of the box and you have to bring it home yourself because you can't leave it at the dumpsters. Two, you're going to be stressed. So set yourself up, try yourself out. It's going to be busy, it's going to be fast, and people want to shop before you're ready. So plan ahead. Like they're going to have shoppers 2 hours before you even arrive. It's not the truth, but they're going to show up early and practice ahead of time so you're not freaking out.
Yep, 100%. And one last thing on my side too, we do not have tables that you can use. We do not have chairs. We do not have tent weights, and we do not have tents you can use or borrow. You can ask. The answer is going to continually be no. So I don't have anything that you can use or rent from us for the event.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a few other things before we wrap up. I will try and be quick because I know we're at time here. First, there is a question here. What time should we expect health inspector to come? The fire department will come ahead of the event, but public health could be at any time. They want to make sure that you are adhering to those rules at all times, and so there won't be a specific time or specific event date they will come. We have to anticipate that they could come at any time during the event. A few other things that I just want to make sure we get to. A couple of them I'll be reiterating from my beginning speech that got cut off from the recording. Just a reminder, we have 20,000 people attending each of these events, so we need to be patient from that standpoint. It's going to be very busy downtown. That's why a lot of the safety is very important. It's not just you, it's also all these 20,000 community members we have to keep in mind. Be sure to secure your items, not only for weather, so like if it's windy and you have a bunch of paper goods, you might want to use some binder clips or, clothespins or paperweights or something to make sure your items are secure, but also from a safety standpoint. Once again, 20,000 people, it's an urban environment. You never know what might happen. Keep an eye on your stuff, especially if you have like a money box or a money wallet or something like that. Make sure that is secured at all times. It's very rare that we have issues with this, but it's not unheard of. So just, be mindful of that. We ask that you be flexible day of. I know Lucas alluded to this a little bit, but examples is, we might assign you a spot, and between when we assign you the spot and the event date, the Parks Department might have moved a bench there or a planter or something is now in your way. Ideally, we catch that ahead of time, but that might not always be the case. So if you arrive and your spot is occupied by something else, find one of Lucas's staff, find me, find one of my staff. We'll help you find another spot. We keep a few spots open each event that we call flex spots for that reason. If something happens that a spot is not occupiable, we will find you one of those alternative locations. For event day, when you're coming down, especially if you're not from Madison or not familiar with the downtown area, plan your route ahead of time. Megan alluded to this as well. Be prepared, test out your stuff. Same thing with your route. Make sure, you're looking at Google Map ahead of time, know how to get in easily, find the location Lucas told you to arrive at, and maybe give yourself a few extra minutes just in case for traffic. Stay calm on event day. It's a hectic day. We're all trying to do our best. Nobody's enemies here. You're all our friends. We want to make sure everybody's happy. And so if something goes wrong, let's stay calm. We will do our best to resolve any issues that come up. And finally, especially with acceptance and being waitlisted, please be patient. I want to reiterate what I said at the beginning. We are thrilled to have so many vendors applying. Once again, we're already at more applications than we had all of last year, which is a sign that it's an amazing event, right? We're so proud of what we do. But it also means that we can only get so many of you in each event. So if you're waitlisted, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It doesn't mean we hate you. We love you. We just could only get so many in. We usually end up pulling half a dozen to a dozen off the wait list each event. So if you're not accepted right away, be prepared. You might come in later. So just, bear with us during that process as well. All right, looks like we have one last question here before we wrap up. Can food vendors sell drinks like water and soda? I believe so, yeah, especially like, prepackaged stuff for sure. Otherwise, whatever you're allowed to sell under your normal food license, as long as your license covers it, you're good.
Tim, could they sell alcohol or drink alcohol in their
Oh, great
stands?
question, Megan. No, that is a separate permit that we would need to pull. And because we have so many amazing bars and restaurants downtown that sell alcohol, we decided not to try and compete with them. So unfortunately, no, alcohol is one of the few exceptions of things we cannot have people sell.
Are there any, and this might be a bigger question to ask behind the scenes, but are there any, and I don't know if any of your vendors sell it, but any requirements around THC sampling, or anything like that?
Unless the city changed their rules recently, that actually is allowed.
So we should probably talk about that behind the scenes because there's a lot of conversations about that and how and what can be out in the streets related to that. There's some new age requirements for uh, age requirements and carding requirements for THC related products and things like that. So it's probably a good idea for us to have another conversation. I've been trying to unearth the challenges around that.
All right, great to know. Well, I don't think any of our vendors that signed up that I'm aware of sell that type of product. If you're a vendor watching this and you do, please reach out to us offline to make sure that we are on the same page on that one. Otherwise, yes, Megan, please do follow up with me so I can reach out to our brick and mortar businesses that do sell those items. All right, last order of business before we wrap up. For those of you watching the YouTube video, we need you to email Lucas at markets@visitdowntownmadison.com and tell him your favorite pizza topping. That's how he will know that you watched this video. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to reach out to us with any questions. And thank you. We're looking forward to another amazing night market season.
Good luck, everybody.